Right, Wednesday's here, and that means we're inching closer to the weekend, and not just any weekend. It's Derby Day on Sunday, and with a spot in the Premier Sports Cup semi-final on the line, the stakes are already sky high. But that's the only thing brewing. There's been plenty of chat floating about in the last 24 hours, and some of it's got folks seriously talking. Let's start what could drop at any minute. The club's financial report. Now, this isn't something fans usually get too hyped for, but this time it's different. There's real anticipation around the numbers, and for good reason. Over the past few years, Celtic's been releasing these massive reports, 80 pages long, full of details, charts, statements the big bosses like Michael Nicholson and Peter Lawwell. And while most folk don't sit down a cup OT and flick through financial statements like it's a page-turner, the truth is, it tells you a lot about where the club's at. The last few releases came right about now, mid-September, and today's the 17th, so we're right on cue. There's already whispers about the bank balance being somewhere in the tens of millions. Tens of millions. One reporter mentioned the possibility of around £40 million just sitting in the bank. Now, imagine hearing that when fans have been crying out for investment in key areas of the squad. It's a bit like off-air and swimming lessons in Loch Lomond. It might be useful, but it's not exactly what folk asked for. This year's figures will reflect Champions League revenue, and not just a wee bit. We were part of the newly expanded format, and that means more cash was up for grabs than ever before. We also had a big outgoing transfer last season when Matt O'Reilly made his move, breaking the club's record sale. So on paper, the numbers are likely to look fantastic. Big revenue, strong profits, and a lot of cash on hand. But that's exactly what's got fans talking. It's not just about what the report says, it's about what it represents. All that money didn't just appear. It's come from supporters, matchday tickets, season books, shirts, merchandise, all of it. And with more fans voicing concern about how the club's being run, this financial report could act like a spotlight on where the priorities truly lie. There's already murmurings about potential protests or fan-led movements. And if the numbers show the club sitting on a mountain of money while the team's still got clear gaps, that frustration's only going to build. Some folk are even floating the idea of a merchandise boycott, not out of anger at the players or the badge, but as a way of sending a message to the board. And to be fair, there's something to be said for that. It doesn't affect the team on the pitch, but it makes it clear that supporters expect ambition to match loyalty. Meanwhile, on the pitch, there's actually been a bit of light, proper, exciting light, and that's come in the form of Sebastian Tenki. Or should I say, Sebastian Tenki. He cleared that up himself when he spoke to the media for the first time this week. So no more excuses, it's Tenki, even if your da's still calling him Tenki for the rest of the season. He met with the press, both the usual suspects and the fan media, and honestly, he came across incredibly well. You could see the humility, the excitement to be here, and none of that chat about Celtic being just a stepping stone. Even if that's the reality for many players nowadays, he never gave it any air. Every answer felt genuine, and maybe I'm being naive, but I believed him when he said he wants to be here for a good few years. On Sunday, he was a proper breath of fresh air. Bright, confident, dangerous every time he touched the ball. He brought that bit of unpredictability we've been missing, especially in tight games. Watching him cut in from the left onto his right foot, you could see instantly that's his best position. He said himself that he's played on the right before, especially back at Bodo/Glimt, and he'll do whatever the gaffer asks. But make no mistake, that left wing is where he's at his best. Watching it back, it was clear. He was constantly stretching the defense, talking players on, creating space. And if that's what he can do on a plastic pitch in his debut, against a low block, imagine what he might be capable of on the big Celtic Park surface. Why a bit more space to run into. Already, folk are looking ahead to the Red Star Belgrade match next week and wondering if Tenki could be the difference maker, especially in Europe where we've often lacked that bit of individual flair. But what really stuck out from his interview was his old-school mentality. He's not just another winger playing it safe, passing backwards. He said it straight. I'm a winger who likes to attack, likes to dribble, likes to take on players. You'll never see me pass it back if I have a chance to go against a player. That's exactly what fans want. No sideways passes. No slow build-up. Just take your man on, make things happen. He also mentioned he's already built a connection with Benji Negrin. No surprise there, both Scandinavian lads. Probably speaking the same language off the pitch too. That sort of early bond-in can go a long way, especially when trying to settle into a new club. And let's be honest, the timing couldn't be better. With the support feeling flat lately, a player like Tenki coming in and lighten things up can really shift the mood. It's only one game, but excitement's part of the gig when you're a football fan. You're supposed to get carried away a wee bit. It's what we do. Now, from the heights of excitement to something a bit more puzzling, Simpson-Pusy. Remember him? Signed over 6 weeks ago, and yet we've barely seen a glimpse of him. Not even a minute on the pitch. In fact, he's only made the matchday squad for 2 of the 7 games he's been eligible for, and both of those were in Europe where the bench is extended. No domestic appearances. Not even in the squad. And to make things murkier, he was left out of the Europa League group stage squad altogether. That's no a good sign. Brendan Rodgers was asked about him a few weeks back, and his answer was, well, vague at best. Said he was getting up to speed, and we'd see more of him after the international break. But here we are, international break behind us, and still no sign of him. No appearance against Kilmarnock, not even on the bench. Now, there's rumors floating around. And again, take them with a pinch of salt, but the one doing the rounds is that Simpson-Pusy refused to play for the B team. If there's any truth to that, it would explain a lot. Refusing a run out when you're not even in the main squad? That's not going to sit well with Rodgers or anyone else at the club. Adding more fuel to the fire, he recently changed his Instagram profile picture to a plain black background, along with the quote, "Delays teach patience which prepares you for blessings." That's the kind of cryptic post players throw up when things aren't going to plan, and it suggests there's definitely more going on behind the scenes than we've been told. Right now, that one's looking like a bit of a dud signing, but maybe there's still time to turn it around. Let's see if he shows up on the team sheet this weekend. And speaking of the weekend, Sunday's match at Firhill against Partick Thistle is shaping up to be a cracker. But here's a bit of a twist. There's no VAR. No video assistant referees. Partick are still a championship club, and VAR hasn't been installed at their stadium. So we're going old school this weekend. Just a ref, a couple of linesmen, and no one sitting in a van telling them to have another look. It's actually quite refreshing. Remember the last time Celtic played a competitive match without VAR? You'd have to go all the way back to October 2022, a 6-1 win over Hibernian at Celtic Park. I think it was James Forrest who bagged a hat-trick that day. Dyson Maeda got one late on. And there was a Stonewall penalty shout for Burnaby that never got given. That was right before VAR came in the following week. But just when we thought all eyes would be on the Firhill pitch this weekend, there's already a bit of buzz for what comes next, and that's the trip to Belgrade. Europa League proper. Now, look, we all know it's no the competition we were wanting to be in. Everyone had their sights set on the Champions League. But let's face it, once the disappointment fades, it's still Europe, still big nights, still big teams, and we've got a proper challenge in front of us. We kick things off against Red Star Belgrade next week, and if you've been keeping an eye on them, you'll know they're no messing about. They've been racking up goals like it's nothing. Their last 2 matches? 7-1 and 5-1 wins. No joke. And these weren't bottom-of-the-table teams either. They were playing sides sitting 4th and 5th in the Serbian league. So whatever's clicking up front for them right now, it's working. Now, the funny thing is, they got knocked out of the Champions League by Pathos, and that's a bit of an embarrassment for them. But you get the feeling they're out to prove a point now. They're at home. First European night since the tragic news about Dejan Milovanovic, their former captain. He passed away this week, just 41 years old, collapsed during a veterans match. That's hit them hard. He wasn't just a player. He was a proper club man. 2 spells, over 300 games, captain, leader. And next week's match at the Ryko Mitic Stadium will be their first home game since he passed. You can bet it'll be emotional. There'll be flags, flares, banners, probably a minute's silence, or even a full tribute. That place is going to be electric, but heavy, and we need to be ready for that. It's the kind of night where you want every player switched on. That crowd will be behind them from minute 1. But at the same time, that sort of emotion can be a double-edged sword. If we can weather the early storm, frustrate them a bit, maybe nick a goal. You never know. But again, that brings us back to players like Tenki. These are the matches where you need someone who's fearless, someone who doesn't freeze under the lights. If he's given that left wing again, and there's space to run into, he could be a real handful. European defenders won't have faced someone like him very often, direct, pacey, hungry to take his man on. It's that old-school edge we were talking about. That's what makes the difference away from home in Europe. Back home, though, it's hard to avoid the feeling that there's more going on off the pitch than on it sometimes. With the financial report due out and fans already voicing concerns, there's a sense that Celtic supporters are starting to mobilize in a way we haven't seen in a while. Sunday's match wasn't just about the win. It was about a show of unity in the stands. You could feel it, a sort of shared frustration, but also belief that we can drive change if we stay together. Some are calling for a rethink in how we spend, others are pointing to the way fans are treated in general. And with this new wave of supporter movements gaining ground, the next few weeks could be really interesting off the park too. And honestly, that's why the financial report matters so much this time around. It's no just about reading the profit margins or seeing how many shirts were sold. It's about understanding how the club is being run and whether that matches up with what we, the supporters, expect. If the board's sitting on tens of millions, but the manager's working why a thin squad, fans are right to ask questions. We've got a European campaign to navigate, a domestic title race that's far from a given, and a cup to try and win. If ever there was a time to show ambition, it's now. And this report, no matter how polished and glossy it looks, will either reassure people or pour more fuel on the fire. Back to the team, though, and we can't ignore the gaps that still exist. Injuries are stacking up, and the squad depth is going to be tested sooner rather than later. That's why the Simpson-Pusy situation is such a sore point. When you've got a player brought in, hyped up, and then completely vanishing from matchday squads, it raises eyebrows. Rodgers said he'd be involved more after the break, but we're after the break now, and still, nothing. And then you see him making cryptic Instagram posts like he's Kendrick Lamar, and you start wondering if this is heading for a quiet January exit. It's not the first time we've seen a signing disappear into the shadows before they even get going. And it's usually a sign that something's no right behind the scenes. Could be attitude, could be fitness, could be something we don't know about, but whatever it is, fans deserve a bit more clarity. Not every signing needs to be a superstar, but they should at least be in the conversation for selection. As for Sunday, it's not just a quarterfinal. It's a proper test of mentality. Firhill might not be a fortress, but Partick Thistle will treat it like one. They'll be right up for it. Cup tie, no VAR, noisy crowd, nothing to lose. You can bet they'll be looking to rattle us early on. These are the games that test your focus more than your flair. You need composure. No daft challenges, no getting dragged into scraps. Just play the game, get the job done. The no VAR situation? Honestly, part of me loves it. Football as it was meant to be. Score a goal, celebrate straight away. No waiting around for some ref in a box to draw lines. But also there's a risk. One dodgy decision, and you've got no safety net. It's going to come down to how switched on the ref is on the day, and whether we can stay disciplined. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. The footballing circles in Glasgow are buzzing with a story that, if it proves true, could reshape the attacking options at Celtic Park. Whispers are spreading that Celtic have moved decisively to prize CALLUM Hudson-Odoi away from Nottingham Forest, a move that very few had on their bingo card as the transfer window edged towards its final weeks. The 23-year-old winger, once hailed as one of the brightest talents to come through Chelsea's famed academy, had only begun to re-establish his career in the Premier League with Forest, but now appears to be on the brink of an unexpected switch north of the border. Supporters on both sides of the border are already debating the sense and the scale of the deal. For Celtic, it would represent a rare statement of intent, not merely picking up a youngster on loan or an aging veteran from England's top flight, but capturing a player still with prime years ahead of him, a footballer who has tasted Champions League nights at Stamford Bridge and who has been capped by England. For Hudson-Odoi himself, the move might promise the regular football and continental stage that he craves, with Celtic almost assured of group stage European action. The chatter on Sochi Hall Street suggests that the negotiations have been fast-tracked, with the winger keen to embrace the chance to become a star in Glasgow, rather than fight for minutes in Forest's crowded squad. Some insiders claim the deal is practically done. Others insist there are hurdles yet to be cleared, particularly regarding wages and structure of the agreement. Still, the mere possibility has already lit up social media, with Celtic fans daring to imagine Hudson-Odoi in green and white hoops, darting down the left flank at Parkhead. As with all rumors, time will tell whether this is smoke or fire, but the prospect of a talent of Hudson-Odoi's pedigree rocking up in the Scottish Premiership has injected rare electricity into the late summer air. If Celtic do pull it off, it would be one of the most eye-catching signings Scottish football has seen in years. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.